Welcome back to another episode of Additional Mathematics Syllabus 4049, where we look at Chapter 9 of our textbooks, which is on none other than the one in green, trigonometry. Specifically, AMF trigonometry. So what is something that comes to your mind, or one thing that comes to your mind when you hear of the word trigonometry? You will think about, for me, right, I'll think about triangles. Okay, so I'll just draw isosceles triangle. It can be a right angle triangle. It can be a, let's say, equilateral triangle. Okay, so you will have confirmed heard of this term in Sec 2 called trigonometry, and specifically in mathematics or elementary mathematics, you would have heard of trigonometry, yeah, since Sec 2 and Sec 3. So in Sec 2, we have learned Pythagoras theorem, and tuakaso. Hold on, I'll just write in dots, yeah. Pythagoras theorem, tuakaso. But in Sec 3, we learn three different ways to solve trivial questions. We have learned, which I'll write it in yellow. So this is for Sec 3. We have learned sine rule. What else other than sine rule? Cosine rule. We have learned about this formula half AB sine C. And then we have also learned about the obtuse and acute angles. Alright, so that is it about trigonometry. And to give you a recap, right, for both Pythagoras theorem and tuakaso is only strictly for a right angled triangle. Alright, so for sine rule, cosine rule, half AB sine C, obtuse and acute angles is not necessary, or you can't use for right angle triangles. Actually, half AB sine C can, because it's a half times base times height, and the base must be perpendicular to the height. And you know that sine 90 is 1, which I will cover more later in special angles. Alright, because it's in the AMF syllabus. And yeah, I kind of have reviewed a bit of the AMF syllabus for trigonometry, and you should have known, because if you're Sec 3 this year, it's new for you. If you're Sec 4, yeah, you should have known a bit. But of course, I'm not expecting too much lah, because human beings forget, right? So it's alright. And what's the difference between elementary mathematics and additional mathematics trigonometry is that for trigonometry, there are more formulas in additional mathematics than elementary mathematics. But take note that in the additional mathematics O level, they will still give you sine rule, cosine rule, and the area of triangle formula. And there's much more formulas to it. Okay, so I can give you one example. Sine square x plus cosine square x equals to 1. This is an AMF formula in the AMF O levels. And then we have, let's say, sine 2a is the same as 2 sine a cosine a. Alright. Yeah, so like, and so on and so forth. Because I usually won't remember the formula sheet, because it's a bit, because it's given, right? What for I need to remember? Yeah, right. Alright, so while I erase this, I will be doing an intro for AMF Trigo. What is the syllabus coverage for additional mathematics syllabus 4049, and after that we will start to kick off Trigo as soon as possible. Yeah. Let me bring this arrow out first so it's easier. Bruh. You know, I'm just erase this and whoops. Wait, hold up. I'm just gonna trace it back, you know. Whatever. Alright, so in the additional mathematics syllabus 4049, when we look at chapter 9, which is on trigonometry, there are 4 subtopics, which I will write it in different colors. Okay? Actually, I don't use pink, I don't want to confuse you. So yeah, we'll use red, yellow, cyan, purple. Okay? So let's start. For the one in red, we are going to look at trigographs, which is like, let's say your sine x. This is just general, yeah, cosine x and tangent x. Let's say they ask you to draw a 2 sine 2x plus 1. Let's say, for example, all right? And one thing, tangent x, this is like not commonly tested. As in, maybe in your school papers, they won't test so much, but in O levels they might test. So like I'll just write not commonly tested, but for sine and cosine graphs, yes, very commonly tested. Okay, and they'll ask you to draw out the graphs. So we're gonna learn how to draw trigographs. Yep. And then secondly, we will learn how to prove trigo identities. This one, if you're a Sec 4 next year, you should know, yeah. Alright, so, but I'm not expecting you to know so much about it. I know every human being forgets, but still, just remember before the O levels. Alright, or the, you know, if let's say you're Sec 4 in 2027 is the Singapore GCE, don't know what exam is that, yeah. But this is your left hand side equals to your right hand side one. So you can either prove one side, yeah. So if you prove left hand side, show right hand side. If you prove right hand side, you show the left hand side. Okay, so that's about proving trigo identities, which you have to use the formula sheet to help you sometimes to prove correctly. All right, and also you must also know your cotangent, cosecant, secant, and tangent, which I will be doing in the subsequent videos. But now this is just an intro, so I will not go so much into it. But when we go into every subtopic, I will go much deeper into it. And the third one will be to solve trigo identities. Oh, by the way, trigo just means trigonometry. Yeah, I just write in short form. Alright, so we know that, like, let's say I ask you to solve cosine x equals to 2. Let's say sine x equals 0, for example, yeah. And then you have to use your first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, or fourth quadrant, or your ASTC. So basically, you can use this as a recap, yeah, or like a maybe before you go into the exam hall, this kind of video. Okay, but the subsequent subtopics, I will go much deeper into it, yeah. And now, the last but not least, will be your what do you call it? Trigo ratios. Where this is about, let's say they give you sine x equals, sine a equals to 6 over 5, cosine b is 2 over 3, and you have to make use of your quadrants. Okay, and I will also write out one more subtopic, which is not in this chapter, but this is about R formulae, which is in chapter 10. But for now, I will just do the chapter 9 those the chapter 9 chapter 9 chapters subtopics, which is on trigographs. I will do in pink. Trigographs, proving trigo identities, solving trigo identities, and the trigo ratios. But R formula is in chapter 10, and we will get to it when we finish all the subtopics, and then we will go into chapter 10, all right, which is on R formulae. All right, but for now, we will kick off with trigographs, and we will end off with trigo ratios. All right, so I hope that this can give you a good recap before the exams, and I will go through the topics in depth, the subtopics, red, yellow, cyan, purple, all in depth. Okay, bye.